from 1 to 100. This is a podcast where we talk about building your YouTube community from 1, that's you, to 100 so that you can make a living doing what you love. On this show, we talk about how to build a business as a YouTube creator in the passion economy. I'm your host, Heather Ramirez, and this is episode 5 of From 1 to 100. Yay!
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. As you can see, we've got a guest. He's ready to come on. I'm excited for episode 5. First of all, thank you to all the feedback that I've been getting so far on this show. It's been a journey. This thing, I've been doing this 5 years, and I have to say, this specific project has been, I don't know, the hardest thing that I've done, I think, aside from my episode 1 of this, which was my making a living on YouTube documentary. I'm very interested, as you can tell, in this whole thing. And I'm so excited that I have the pleasure to talk to all the people I've talked to and will talk to, and especially today. So without further ado, today I'm joined by Mike Mena. We connected, I think we met through Tom, my husband, who has a YouTube channel, and discovered me as well. Mike is an academic, a PhD candidate, and he has a YouTube channel about language and race and undergraduate and graduate material and stuff. I'll have him explain it a lot better than I could. But the reason why I'm so excited to have him on as a guest today, talking about the passion economy, is one, I think that his channel is just by its very nature takes the passion economy business model because it's so niche, right? This is a very specific topic or theme of a YouTube channel that will clearly not be for everybody. Like, some people are just gonna be like, this is not my thing. And then for other people, it's like, oh, I need this. Like, I need the analysis. I need this because it's going to help me, in my classes or, in my homework or whatever it is, papers and all that stuff that people are working on. So I think that's fascinating. The other thing is, I think a lot of people who start YouTube channels, it is this like hobby, right? It's like, here's my full-time job. I'm a accountant, but I'm also fascinated with like microgreens and gardening. So I have a YouTube channel about this like completely unrelated thing, and it's my obsession and my passion, but it's totally unrelated to my career. Mike is like taking his career and amplifying, right? And his YouTube channel is basically an extension of what he's learning, what he is doing for his career, and there's no hiding it, right? There's no this is what I do on YouTube, on my private life or whatever, and here's what I do, I don't know, my persona when I talk to people, right? It's one and the same, and I want him to talk about how his YouTube channel has really opened up opportunities that I don't think could have happened without the channel. So, without further ado, Mike, hi.
Hello. Hey, thanks for having me on the show. It's as weird as I thought it was going to be. I've gotten to see other people's YouTube room through chatting in with them before, and it's just it's always freaky, but it's cool. It's very
cool. Well, I'm super excited to have you here, Mike. Why don't can you give an introduction as to who you are and what your channel is about?
Okay, so
that's me. Hold on.
Mike. Oh,
wait. Hold on. Wait, see, this is why we no, I got this. Hold on. How do I change the camera? Boom. Okay, go.
Oh, graphic. Yes. Okay. So my YouTube channel is kind of something that I'm running parallel to my career. So it's called The Social Life of Language. So it's basically I look at language, and then I put it in social contexts, and then I give a little analysis. And very slowly over time, I realized that, my thing was language and racism and how that stuff like interacts with each other. It just so happens that is an extremely niche topic that a lot of people don't like talking about very much because it makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Which, I totally understand. But, I am a former high school teacher, and I thought like, hey, you know what? I know how to talk at a level that is not alienating to people. So I think I can take this like really, really advanced like theory about language and about racism, and then like really break it down and share it with other people. Um, at the time, I was thinking share it with people like me or similar to my experience, because I was always sitting in class and or I'd be having trouble in class rather.
Yeah.
And all I wanted was to find a good YouTuber that would teach me stuff and not use the same language as my professors in class.
Professor. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and most of the time it was like, oh, I find this video from Harvard University, and it's like a crappy webcam way in the back of an auditorium, and he's speaking in language I don't understand anyways. So I thought, hey, maybe, maybe I can do this, and that's just literally how it started. I was like, maybe I can do this. Maybe students like me, you know, will will find me, will discover my channel, and they'll learn stuff from someone like me, someone that's a little bit more relatable, somebody that's not in a suit and sitting
Right.
and standing in an auditorium behind a podium, you know? And that's how the channel started. It's just like that, just a little idea with on
Yeah.
a laptop.
And I love how it started because you were looking for something, right? And then you realized that that thing that you were looking for, like obviously you had a picture in your mind of what you were looking for, but you didn't find it. And so you're like, oh, I'm going to start it. I think that's how a lot of us start, which is so awesome. Now, here's a question for you. It sounded like it was just like, I'll just start this YouTube channel. Let me just see. I'm not sure, but you know, we're just going to start it. Talk about where your YouTube channel is now. You know, is it are you doing what you thought you would be doing when you started it? What has happened as a result of your YouTube channel? I mean, you know, you went, I don't want to take it away from you telling this because you've gotten accolades, you've gotten, you know, awards and or not scholarships, that's not the word, but like grants and stuff. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I think when I started, I had no idea it was going to spin off into what it eventually became. I was just thinking like, oh, if I could get like 100 subscribers, that would be awesome. That would be like 100 students. I could, help them out. Because when you have like a high school teacher mentality, you're thinking like, I can affect 30 students at a time. If you can affect 30, so YouTube is just like millions of people. Hey, cool. Maybe I'll aim a little higher and get 100 subscribers. you know, but so over time I made this like first video, and the topic was super wide. It was social theory for students of color. That was like my imagined uh demographic, my imagined audience, which is way too big. Social theory, like every discipline in every education discipline has social theory. Everything in education or in higher ed has social theory. So it started slowly, just whittling down until I made this one video that was about language and racism. And I happened to go to a conference that year, and people kept coming up to me. It's like, hey, you're Mike, you made that video on this book called Language and White Racism, or the Everyday Language of White Racism. And I was like, yeah. It's like, oh, I assigned your video in class. It was really helpful.
Oh.
And then I was thinking like, ooh, I've been like recognized like 10 times today. And I'm just like this little student, this little, PhD student. And like other professors are kind of like looking. My goal was to get an email from the professor that wrote the book. That was like my dream. Like my goal in life was like, if I can make this video and she will watch it and send me an email. Oh my God, that's gonna be the most awesome thing ever in my life that could ever happen to me. That didn't happen. She passed, and it was like a sad story and whatnot.
Oh.
But I kept going in this path towards language and racism. I just kept going that way, and very slowly, it just happened little by little. I got nominated for this award. The award led to, so when you get nominated for an award, you can kind of put that on your CV, on your resume.
Mm-hmm.
And I started applying for grants, and then, oh, a little $500 grant. Whoa, I can buy a new camera lens. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then like the grants got a little bit bigger, and then I got like a whole year educational tech fellowship type thing, which paid my bills for like the whole year basically. So the actual money on YouTube, like the stuff you get from ads or that kind of stuff, that never came. That has not come. I don't expect it to come, and I don't care because it's already led to all of this other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like other places. Like I published an article, people find it because I just make a video on my article. So in my head, in my dream, I'm thinking maybe someday this YouTube channel will be big enough to where I can maybe publish books at a bigger scale. And that is like maybe where the money will come from or the living will come from. But
Mm-hmm.
as of right now, I'm a PhD candidate. I'm just using it to get my door into these little places, into these
Mm-hmm.
conversations, and getting invited to do like talks, to do keynotes, um, getting invited on panels with other academics. So it's just opened up a whole bunch of little doors that will eventually lead to bigger career stuff. This is all just adding on to your careers as an academic. It's just kind of a way of building a resume through the world of academia. And doing it on YouTube is not something very many people do. I, if anybody knows of somebody, I would like to know
Exactly.
because I would like some advice.
Academia and YouTube is not like I would never put them in the same sentence. I think you're the first, honestly.
I'm not sure. Like I know there's like bigger companies that do it, right? And they have like multiple hosts and stuff.
Right.
And like you have
Like
like
networks.
Harvard.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
like Harvard doing their like, you know, online courses and things like that. Um as far as like an individual person, individual
Mm-hmm.
scholar trying to make a difference at an individual scale, just talking to other people of color, or at least that's my audience that I imagine
Right.
myself talking
Mm-hmm.
to, is other people of color. Um, I don't know if any other um, academics that use their academic credentials in the way that I do it. I don't think there's anybody else that does it. There's a lot of people that do popular versions, like video essays and critiques of like social phenomenon, like popular pop
Commentary.
analysis. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's some really good ones, really good ones. But not the not quite the way that I do it. Not like with the official, academic citational practices and like the
Right. Of
kind of
course.
research that I do for every single video. I'm not sure. I'm not sure there's another person out there just yet. Maybe they're
Yeah.
growing. Maybe they're there. Maybe I just haven't found them.
Well, I think that especially in, especially after like 2020, I think that we need more of you. People who can, encourage civil discourse instead of like 3-second, highly heightened emotioned tweets that like don't get us anywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm, you know, just YouTuber to YouTuber, thank you for what you do. The other thing I wanted to ask you is like, what's been the reception? So, we just said we're from the world of YouTube. We just said that academia and YouTube is a very strange combination. Um, I'd love to see more of it. But what has the world of academia thought of what you do? You said offline that you just did a YouTube workshop for other academics that are trying to do this. So what's been their reaction to finding out that you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah. So I think in general it's been very supportive. Um,
Is that
I don't
surprising to
know.
you?
I don't know if anybody would come up to me and tell me they were against what I
Right.
do, but
Yeah.
I know that I might be troubling certain patterns in academia. Like for example, if you're an academic, the way you get your stuff out there is you go to conferences and you talk to people. Um, a lot of times when you talk at these conferences, you get put on a panel, Saturday morning where all the other academics just went out Friday night, and you go and you talk to a room of like 5 people and there's like 80, 100 empty chairs. And that's like the traditional way you go out there to spread your work is you speak in person somewhere. Now, I did that the first couple years of my PhD school, and that's the kind of experience I got. and there's a lot of money built into that experience. You have to pay for conference fees, you pay for airplanes, you pay for this, you pay for that. Um, when I put up a video on YouTube, it's like, okay, I can either get, 500 or 600 people to watch me within the first, 3 or 4 hours versus let me go to a conference and speak for 5 people.
Weeks
I
from
don't,
now.
yeah, and
Yeah.
pay for all plane tickets. Pay, like that's very expensive as a student. They
Yeah.
don't tell you like, hey, academia is a very expensive place, expensive field to participate in. And I think like if more students were to kind of get on this, and you've kind of seen it the last year with COVID, where now people are putting on their own talks, online. Um, so even though there's maybe not a bunch of YouTubers yet, there are doing these like Zoom conferences now, which is kind of like, hey, do we really need to go in person when you can get like 1,000 people to watch you online and you can stay at home and you can do this, just as or way more efficiently. So with that said, I don't see anybody having a problem with me just yet. If it became very widespread and a whole bunch of people did it and like a whole bunch of people started not making money anymore, I could imagine it becoming a problem someday. But other than that, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of interest from other academics, other professors and scholars that want to do their own thing. And I just did this workshop on academic YouTubing. Um, and, it seemed like it was received very well. And I'm hoping more people get into it because it needs to be done. I
Yeah.
can't just be me, it would be awesome if like tons and dozens of professors were to do this, because they're not only sharing people's work, not sharing their own work, they're sharing other people's work. Other professors can use their videos in their classes. There's more educational resources for kids. It's it it seems like a win-win. I mean, obviously there's a point where it'll probably not be a win-win, but as of right
Yeah.
now, I
Someone
think like,
loses.
yeah, I think right now more people need to get in there. And there's an interest. There is an
Yeah.
interest.
So I have so many thoughts here. First of all, this isn't just passion economy stuff, but I think that the world of YouTube is definitely a disruptor, right? Like I think that the traditional models, whether it's academia or even Dominique, who's in the financial advisor space, like there's just been a way that things have been done, business has been done for decades, right? And then here comes YouTube, where basically the the structure that's been built in place is no longer needed, right? Like you don't have to go through these traditional avenues. You could literally distribute your content for freaking free, which is the craziest
Yes.
part. And it has the potential to reach millions, if or thousands, if not millions.
Yeah.
Question though, what was the most like common questions that the people had in that workshop? I'm just curious what like they were, what they wanted to know about YouTube.
I think a really well, I mean, there was a lot of basic questions because I mean, to tell you that this is very under theorized, this idea of YouTube teaching YouTube pedagogy. Um, when it's basic questions like how long should a video be? You know, that tells you there's not enough people doing it to where people can think of an average of like,
Right.
okay, maybe,
It's
whatever,
supposed to
10.
look like this. Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's not enough models out there
Hmm.
to. So right now the questions were very um basic, very practical, but there was also really heavy questions like, have you ever had to retract a video? Because
Oh.
I'm covering other people's work, right? So there is a risk there, like I could misrepresent what they are trying to say.
Hmm.
Which is particularly dangerous when you start looking at scholarship from like scholars of color. Like one of my recent videos is on Patricia Hill Collins, who's a Black feminist scholar who talks about objectifying practices of Black women. What am I doing with a YouTube video? I'm objectifying her scholarship, transforming it into something else. So I have to be conscious that, hey, I am doing that. So
Hmm.
what are the steps I'm going to take to make sure that I don't have to take the video back or do something damaging or
Right.
misrepresent her work, or there's a lot of risk there.
Yeah.
So that was probably one of the most interesting questions, and I think would probably be a barrier to a lot of younger scholars who aren't quite confident to actually put themselves out there and kind of translate people's work onto a YouTube platform, because that's what I'm kind of doing in a lot of senses. I'm taking like very abstract theoretical stuff that you would get in a graduate course or an undergraduate course, and then bringing it over here into language that my mom's going to understand, that,
Right.
and that's kind of like my audience in the back of my head is like, okay, would my mom understand this? My mom's a nurse, like that is her specialty. So she has that language. She does not have the language of linguistics and racism and all of that stuff. So how am I going to take all of that stuff and put it into language that she would understand in a way that's relevant to her life? And I'm also just thinking of my former high school students. Are they going to be bored? Would they be bored right now if this was a real class? Am I losing people at this point? So the questions that I get were, it's interesting because they were either very basic and practical or super theoretical, which tells me not enough people are doing it yet, because there's not an average when
Right.
you got these questions coming out of nowhere,
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, so how do you feel about YouTube now? Like, clearly you're not going to stop, but why? Like, YouTube, your YouTube journey is not what you thought it would be when you started, but now that it is what it is and it's having the impact that it's having, how do you feel about it? And like, what's your direction? Do you have a strategy? Where do you see it going, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. So I think I had like a moment of, I don't want to call it crisis, but there was a moment over the last year where I tried to kind of sort of um, dip my toes into the idea of like popular video essays. Because again, I was seeing like these other people doing popular video essays, popular video analysis, and they were just doing them every single week. And I was like, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I could do that if I did popular content, like popular stuff on the news, or that kind of popular analysis. So I had this feeling for a little bit that like, hey, maybe I could be a big YouTuber, and I think I lasted for 2 videos thinking that, because it did not feel the same anymore. It didn't feel like I was trying to grab that very particular audience that I wanted at the very beginning, which was students of color. It started just becoming this general thing. And that's not what I started this channel for. And I don't think I would last very long in trying to do popular analysis, because I just don't care that much about popular analysis. So
Unpack
I,
that. So I think like a lot of people would be like, but YouTube though, we have to see what's trending. If that's where we're getting the views, like, doesn't it make sense to do more of that? I mean, literally, the analytics are telling you that, but you had a feeling that was like, nah. Unpack that. What do you mean?
I wanted to do something that was personally fulfilling. And yeah, I do like to be funny, and my like funnier videos, my popular analysis videos, that did like give me some sense of happiness, but it didn't give me a sense of joy, which is what I get from going really, really deep into really theoretical stuff. So if that joy is not there, then it started feeling like a chore. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I have to make sure that I watch the news so that I can, have something funny to say on this next video. I mean, they're fun videos to make, but they didn't give me joy like at a intellectual, theoretical level, and it didn't make me feel like a teacher. And that's what if there's like the highest um, language of praise or whatever, I think teacher is my favorite thing to call somebody, like legitimately. It's not professor, it's not, whatever. Like because it's possible if there's no learning, then there's probably no teaching going on. So if you can be a teacher, not just a professor, that is what I'm striving for.
Mm-hmm.
Staying a teacher and not just being a professor.
Yeah.
Um, and that feeling was missing when I started trying to veer off into this like popular stuff. It just like
Can you give
vanished
an
so
example
quickly.
of one?
Yeah, I did this like and it's there. I left it up, but
I'm gonna
whatever.
pull it
Like
up.
it was called like my top 5 top racist moments of the month of March or something like that. Um I don't even know if it's, let's see.
Yeah, stop me
It
if you. Oh wait, I'm going back too far. Um.
okay, well there's one right there. It's called White Womanhood or something like that on the very 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 top row. It says 3 months
Okay, here,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that one right there. That one is also like one of these popular media analysis type things. Um, and you see it trying to go a little different branding there, being really extra silly and stuff. And it was fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was fun. It just like it wasn't fulfilling what I wanted personally. It was definitely for the clicks. And I knew that it was a conscious thing. I was like, I'm gonna do this for
Yeah, you tried it.
popularity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried it. I didn't like it. I'm going back to being super specialized in
So
language and racism.
even if you got more views, you still were like, nah.
Yeah, it felt. I don't want to say mediocre because I did put a lot of effort into those,
Right.
but
Yeah, you still you still try to make the best video you could.
yeah, like when I do a regular video where I cover a particular article or chapter or whatever in the book, the level of preparation is like a month or 2 months of pre-reading. I got to know the scholar. I want to know what they said in public. I want to know what they said in popular essays that they wrote. I want to know their books. So I'm going to read a couple of their books. I'm going to read a couple of their articles or several of their articles. Like I would go deep to make sure that I don't misrepresent their work by accident. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so there is a sense of personal fulfillment there, like knowing I can do that and knowing I can be like super careful and put in all this effort into re-representing another person's work. Um, Kind of being funny on YouTube is fun, but it's just the level of care and meticulousness that my regular videos take compared to my popular analysis videos, it just wasn't there, and that's what was lacking. Is maybe I want to do the hard work. Maybe that's part of the fun part.
Right.
Like
For you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's I don't know. I guess it's part of being trained as like a PhD student, PhD candidate, or whatever. You're kind of you get put in this mindset of like wanting to go really deep into stuff, and so it felt like I wasn't presenting. It felt too superficial to me, so it
Yeah.
just wasn't rewarding.
And I think that's, I love that you said that, and I love that you went through that and you're here to be able to speak about that experience, because I think a lot of us have that. I've had that moment. I made a video about a topic that was trending that YouTube was telling me this is probably what you should make more videos about, and I did, and it was fine. But it just wasn't like, if you were to ask me what my favorite videos are, that would never be the ones that I would name. And at the end of the day, if you're not into the content that you're creating, like more than anything, that's what's going to make you stop, right? Like that's that's the thing that's going to, you can, it's not even about motivation or anything, but if you're just not in it for whatever reason, and I feel like it has to come down to an internal versus an external, form of satisfaction or whatever it is. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think like getting real about that and admitting it to yourself, like try it for sure. But if it's not your thing, like it's just not your thing. Um, okay,
Yeah.
so here's first of all, if you can see the chat, yeah.
Yeah, I got it open right here.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we're getting lots of good feedback. Sista Punk says what you do is special. Anyone can do pop culture. so many educators entering the YouTube space, which is a good thing. Catching a wave is good for the ego, but not for the soul. So true, so true. Uh, and then also I saw Homesick Mac for the super chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Great subject today. Okay, so I kind of want to move into like the next phase of this, and I'm excited about this because you have heard me talk about passion economy. You've read the passion economy, the book.
Mhm.
I learned about the passion economy. This is not something that I coined. It's not something I made up. I learned about it from two very key people. One is Adam Davidson, who's the author of the book called The Passion Economy and also the podcast called The Passion Economy. And then Lee Jin, who is an investor and, kind of a authoritative person in the tech startup space. And I just saw a gap between these two where no one was applying this model in the content creation space. And I just thought,
Mm.
like, this is what I'm doing because I don't have millions of subscribers, but I'm still able to have a business and be very fulfilled and work on my own terms and have the flexibility and freedom of entrepreneurship. Obviously everything else that comes with it as well. But so I wanted to create a channel and advocate for this. You are a language guy and you're an academic, and the way that you guys, analyze and distill theoretical concepts, and this is what you do on your YouTube channel
Mhm.
for the normal, vernacular, is like I'm so excited to get into this with you. So, let me see. First, I'll start off by admitting that I still have yet to figure out the quick way to describe the passion economy. It still
Mhm.
takes me a while to explain it. So let me start by asking you, how would you explain it, or like, what's your understanding of it?
So yeah. So it's not an easy concept. It's it's new, but it's also quite old. So if I were to put on my my theory hat, um, I think that what makes the passion economy model so like I was telling you earlier, I thought that the book was very seductive. And in a very real sense, like when I read the book, I, in my head, doubled my prices. So from now on, when I'm speaking, when whatever, workshops, whatever, I doubled my prices. Like that's how seductive the book was to me. Um, I also know that it sounds like a very older idealistic mode of capitalism, like where you think of like having that store on the street where you have the shoemaker and the blacksmith, and you can only get the shoes from that one shoemaker, and you take your shoes back to that same shoemaker so that they can fix your shoes, and you make a relationship with the shoemaker or whatever. Uh, that's what it sounds like to me, but on a global scale. Now, instead of we having one street, we have the whole world is the
Yeah.
street,
Right.
right? And we get to open up like our own like boutique shop, is I think what you've called it a couple times. And
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely agree that that's exactly what it's suggesting is the new. Well, that's the thing. When I say it's the new pathway forward, I can't tell myself in my head that that's new. I think it's just a reimagined version of the older models of capitalism that we've used for a really long time, and that's okay. That's what capitalism does. It changes with the needs of whatever of the economy, the world. Um, so with that said, I I'm suspicious of a lot of of the things that it claims could happen. Because I don't trust anything having to do with economics, economy, things like that. Um, but it's something that I'm struggling with, because like I said, I don't, in my head, okay, I do language, I do racism. I know that racism is directly tied to capitalism and economies and things
Right.
like
Yeah.
that.
There's
Yeah.
like,
So
yeah,
so how
layers
can
here.
I just, yeah, I kind of justify my to myself, I'm going to double my prices,
Right.
like, but that's what I did. And although I also know that a lot of my customers are universities, so it's not like I'm charging
Right.
individual people,
Yeah.
that
They have
I,
budgets. Right.
yeah, they're doing fine.
Yeah.
It, paying me double my asking price of what I'm charging right now, they're gonna do fine. They're not
Yeah.
gonna need any help anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, to me, like, any kind of economy, any version of economy, whether it's a passion economy, creator economy, whatever economy, uh, there has to be that element of seduction and hierarchy at the same time, which hierarchy we think of as competition,
Yeah.
right? And what sounds so fascinating about the passion economy is it's saying go to the place that doesn't have the competition,
Right.
right? Uh, but to me, in my head, I got to take another step back and say, like, okay, the markets and the economies are all organized by all this competition everywhere, so that this opening, so that something's opened up and I can step in there. So just because like I stepped in that opening doesn't mean that the hierarchy and the competition isn't there. It's just that I found the spot that I need to be, so that I don't
Mm-hmm.
have all the other competition and the hierarchy to compete against.
Right.
So to me, the hierarchy and the competition is still there. The seduction is still there. Like I said, I just like, oh, I'm gonna make some extra money off of this because I'm worth it. you know.
Yeah.
So, so if you read the book, you'll probably walk away with be like, you know what,
Double
I am
everything.
good at I'm good at what I
Yeah.
do. People should pay me more for this. you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but it's still there. I mean, that's what, and that's part of what capitalism does. And I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that's what it is
It
to
yeah,
me.
it is the thing. Right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I totally get it. I think the thing that stood out to me, or as this whole concept of it is digesting to me, because obviously, like, I've done more research and my thoughts have evolved on it. I think my thing is like, especially from someone who's trying to enter the world of YouTube. I think that's really where I came at it from, because if the only thing that we know of YouTube constantly is just like, there's not a day goes by where I don't go on social media and someone is posting their 50,000 subscriber milestone, or their TubeBuddy analytics or whatever, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's also like it's unavoidable. Like, you cannot be online as a content creator without someone else showing that this is the way to celebrate success. And I
yes.
I just wanted to, just like you, just like, okay, if that's the way that we are perceiving to be, that's success, then of course we would make those video essays. We would make those popular video essays, because that's the numbers that we need to be celebrating. And so that's why I was like, there's something
Mhm.
so intriguing about this other, it's really just about creating a community where you can do what you want to do, right? Where that's where the passion is. So on your channel, you're creating a platform to have these very complex, in-depth, and uncomfortable conversations with a purpose. Like, it's not just like debate, but there's an actual purpose that you're trying to clearly convey. And we'll get into this a little bit more. One of the things that I really love about Mike's channel is that he has something similar to what Tom has, but an ethics statement, a mission statement. There are, and his statement is in every video description. Like, it's very clear what the intent is with this YouTube channel. And I think that someone like you can, almost have an evolved career, or now you're presented with these opportunities that would not have been there if not for you creating content. Now, whether that's something that you're going to turn into, like, are you going to be an entrepreneur now and start your own business? That's up to
Mhm.
you. But
Mhm.
that's what I was approaching it as. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Um, and this is kind of one of the part of what was talking about in my academic YouTuber workshop was the metric of success for an academic YouTuber.
For an academic, yeah, yeah,
You know, you're lucky if your class, likes you. So So yeah, if you're an academic YouTuber or trying to spread the word of academic material or whatever, you have to know it's not going to be totally popular. Well, that's not true. There are some like super popular topics. Like maybe if I did a linguistics channel, that might be more popular than doing a language and racism channel, right? But that's just it's not my jam, and even the linguistic stuff is still very specialized. So your audience, you have to hone in on who your audience is. And I know from the analytics, cross-referencing all my videos, that my audience is in linguistic anthropology, sociolinguistics, applied linguistics, and second language education, language acquisition. um, if I narrow my audience to just that and try to make a difference in just that field, then it feels important when you get messages on your videos from like college students like, oh, think your video saved my final essay, or your videos helping me through my dissertation, or things like that. That still means something to me as a teacher, because I
yeah.
know that I'm making a difference. Yes, it's one person at a time, but it's helping out some other students on their journey into academia, or just finishing college, just in general, because college is hard enough. So it feels like I'm still making a difference. Like, I used to be a high school teacher. I know what it feels like to see a student succeed or go to college, because of your class or because of something you taught them. Knowing that I'm still having that kind of effect, as even though it's less personal because it's
Right. It's YouTube.
mediated
Yeah.
through YouTube, that still feels important to me as a teacher. So if my metric of success is seeing students succeed, or going to a conference and having a really good conversation with other students that are studying language or studying racism or whatever, and getting to meet like the new generation of radical scholars and maybe potentially radical politicians and things like that, that means more to me than a subscriber count. Subscribers would be nice, cool, but that's not what the channel started for, and that's not where the channel's going to be. Or I don't imagine there's going to be some explosion in popularity and thinking about racism anytime soon in the United States. But maybe.
Perhaps from a different, angle.
Yeah,
Well,
from a
so
different, yeah.
yeah. So this is why I'm so excited to be talking to you about this, because I don't like the word economy. I think when people hear the word economy, they immediately picture something in their mind that I have to almost like dial back, like, you know, explain that this is what I mean when I say that word. So see, this is all you linguistics, like meaning of words matter. So I'm not a fan of the word economy. But here's my mission, right? Here's where I'm coming at it from. Exactly what you said, right? Like the fact that you can make an impact, you can explore your passion further, you have, incredible potential to distribute your personal work. And this is all enabled through this weird platform called YouTube for free. If you can do this as an academic, which I think is like, on that side of the spectrum where it's like, this is, that's niche as niche can get.
Yeah.
But like, imagine all these other industries and topics and weird obsessions that people have, and just very like, there's now it's just like, well, if you can do it, man, niche communities everywhere. And it's not about, it's almost like taking it's like, thank you, YouTube, for allowing us to be able to do this. I so appreciate that. I met the love of my life through YouTube. I love YouTube. I will always love YouTube. But also, I don't want to play by your rules of success. Like, I just
Mhm.
don't. I don't want, I know that when I log on to the YouTube creator app, it's just all red arrows. You're telling me I'm doing it all wrong and you'd rather have me do it this way.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to do it that way. Right. And I think I think it's cool. I think this is important to be talking about, to show people that if you want to share your passion, because we are no longer bound by Main Street geographically and we can
Mhm.
access people anywhere, someone else is obsessed with the thing that you're obsessed with around the world, and chances are it's at least 100. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
um, and you guys can do stuff, right? Like, you can mobilize people with your ideas. You can make a difference. You can help them achieve their goals, whatever it is. And you can monetize off of that in a way that is not dictated by YouTube, right? You don't
Right.
need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time to, do YouTube ads. You could get a grant for what you do, right? And that's like, no one talks about, like, here's the 7 ways to make money on YouTube. Apply for a grant. Like, no one says that, but that's totally a legitimate way to get paid for what you're doing with the content you're creating.
Yeah, exactly. And this was something that I noticed a couple weeks ago. I went back to like the first grant that I wrote and that I won, which was I think for 4,000 or something. I had 600 subscribers at the time. I know because I put it in there because I thought it was a big number. I thought that was but in my maybe it is in
I love
academia.
that. I love that.
Maybe
Wait, so
that is a
600?
huge number. 600.
600 for 4,000.
626 subscribers. That was what I had put on there. Uh, and it got me the first grant. You know, I did have recommendation letters saying like, hey, yeah,
Of
he
course.
does do good videos, but like ultimately I had to submit the video and like, here's the video, check it out. Maybe you'll want to give me money for this.
Yeah.
um, yeah, and well, that was like just the fact that I was paid once or any money at all, much less $4,000, which bought me my first big camera, my first good lens, and all that stuff. Uh, that was really a game changer because, I mean, as much as it's fulfilling at a personal level, there is still a level of self interest in there that has
Of
to keep you
course.
motivated
Yeah.
too.
Otherwise, why
And
bother? Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I like camera stuff. And
yeah.
at the moment, like whenever I make a larger lump sum of money, I end up buying myself camera
More
stuff.
camera stuff, more YouTube stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, more YouTube stuff. Um, but that level of self-interest, which again, I still think is still an older version of capitalism, that self-interest idea that's kind of still in there. Um, it looks different because so when I'm going to do a new video, and I have to go in and I have to do a whole bunch of research on the researcher, on the scholar. I have to learn a lot of stuff, and then translating from an academic linguistic register and bringing it over here to like something a nurse in Texas would understand.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, you know, I have to do a lot of intellectual work, and that's very much creative work, and that is also really part of the self-interest there. Like, I like to learn. This is making me learn stuff. You know, I'm making some money off of it sometimes. Well, not sometimes. I guess it's pretty regularly now. But that definitely helps me make sure that I'm doing a video per month. You know, that that's kind of like, for example, today I just looked in there and it's been like 46 days since I posted my last video. And that was telling me like, oh man, I have a responsibility here, you know, to my audience,
Yeah.
whoever they are, right?
Yeah.
They expect me to post up once a month. Like, I know that. I know that from my Patreon, for example. There's people there kind of keeping me in check just to make sure that I'm still, posting up regularly, seeing money flow in so that I can buy a new camera, which is basically a toy. It's adult toys, right? Um, they're fun. That's, self-interest right there. Making videos makes it likely to get to buy all these toys for myself. I get to learn extra things. That there has to be that level of self-interest if you're going to do this in the long term, as an academic. And what I was telling people is like, you have to think of this as a long-term intellectual endeavor, because like if you're thinking you're going to be a famous person or a famous scholar or a famous public figure, that's probably not going to happen, and you're going
Right.
to burn yourself out really quick,
Yeah.
especially when you see that not happening and you see those like downward arrows, in the analytics, and
Right.
you know uh,
Something else has to push you through. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, totally. So, we are fast approaching the top of the hour here. I can't believe it. You guys know we do a Q&A, so I've been starring your questions here in Ecamm, so we'll get to a Q&A. But so leave your questions, right? I hope you guys are enjoying the conversation. It looks like there's sometimes I wish I wasn't hosting and I was like in the chat reacting because like the conversation is so good. But okay, so here's where I want to kind of start to tie this up. Mike, let's talk about your mission statement here because I think this is so cool. Let me share
yeah,
this. Boom. Okay, so you've got your social life of language mission statement here, and there's a goals and ethical commitments statement. Um, why did you make this? Like, why did you create this? Why was it
yeah,
important for you to even have a mission statement? And then not only have a mission statement, but to share this mission statement?
yeah. So when I started the journey, like I said, I was looking for other people to help me learn. Um, Seeing all of these university channels that just had a webcam in the back of a room with a professor that was like speaking in that language that I did not understand at the time. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, what am I even watching this for? There was that extreme all the way over there, or there was the 2-minute version of whatever I was learning,
Right.
which was
Yeah.
not enough. Right. So, the idea for wanting to make knowledge simple but never simplified, which is like the slogan that I say in all of my videos. I'm here to make theory simple but never simplified. That was kind of me saying, I swear I'm not going to be condescending to you if you're not
Mm-hmm.
good at this stuff, which is all I wanted in my graduate education. I wanted to go to class and I wanted to be able to feel like, oh, I could ask a question that's
And
not
not be
necessarily
judged.
this top tier theory question. Like sometimes I had really basic concerns that I needed
Yeah.
addressed before I got to that level, you know?
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
um, so that was like the whole idea in the mission statement is like I want to put that in there, that I'm going to make things that are simple but never simplified. It's like the third line down or something. Um,
Yeah. Right here. Mm-hmm.
and then at a secondary level, I wanted other teachers to be able to have this as a resource for their syllabi. Like if they want to use it in their class, go for it. This is public
Mm.
access. Do it. That it's for you guys. So I started aiming towards teachers and professors also. So it wasn't just students, it was now teachers and professors. So then I thought, hey, if I'm going to be aiming my videos at teachers and professors, I should make it a point to also cover material from scholars of color. Um, I should do my part to help promote that work too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, like, for example, someone like Patricia Hill Collins, who does not need my help, they're famous, they're good, they're, they got everything together. But if I could bring critical race theory to fields like linguistic anthropology and sociolinguistics and applied linguistics, like that felt like a worthwhile goal. Those are
That's so
maybe
cool.
people that wouldn't totally like be like, oh, let me go look for critical race theory randomly in my in my life. Um, so that part became part of my of my mission also is, we're going to do things that are simple but never simplified, never going to be condescending. It's never going to be dumbed down. I'm absolutely against that idea. I don't dumb anything down. Absolutely against that. I want to spread certain levels of awareness of certain scholars, whether it's critical race theory, and then I wanted to help other more junior scholars that maybe are not, 100 years old with 1,000 publications. Maybe
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
also just starting their journey as scholars of color. So I'm going to do some of their work too, and I'm going to help spread the word of them, and
So
and
here's what a lot of things. Here's what I really like about your approach to this, is that it's so anti YouTube formula in terms of like
yeah.
you're not even like your mission literally is so spelled out here that like it is very clear. When I tell everybody, when you start a YouTube channel, you want it to be so defined that people can easily identify whether the channel is for them and not for them. And I think that's the part that scares everyone. So I don't mean go into your, video description and say this channel is not for you if A, B, and C. I mean, here's the mission. This YouTube channel remains committed to illustrating to students and the general public that we can better understand society and social inequality by analyzing how we think and talk about language. This is a very specific person that's going to jam with this, that's going to subscribe to this. There's nothing wrong if you're not down for it, but if you are, you're all about it, right? Like you could tell that this is for a specific person, that if this is what they're looking for, I could see them just going down the rabbit hole here.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how it's just so spelled out here. Like even this, create fast-paced, entertaining, educational content. Like that's not even something I would think to say. Like this is what I'm trying to achieve. But I love that you do, and I think that's cool in the world, especially of academia. This is not entertaining. Fast-paced is not like how you would describe, what you guys do, pedagogy. I guess I don't know. So it's like I love that you have a mission. It's so mission driven, and maybe that's what I need to think about. Because when I say passion, I feel like it implies that you have to be like it's just fun all the time, and of course, you guys know what I mean. Like obviously, there has to be some kind of fulfillment, otherwise you would stop. But this mission driven, for me, I'm a YouTube coach. Yes, like that's the micro of it. But my overall goal is to help people share stories. It's to help stories get shared that otherwise would go untold. Like that's the overarching thing. And when you frame it that way, these YouTube numbers that we're told are supposed to be important are no longer important, right? It comes back down to the comments from the students. I thought of this analogy the other day. I don't know if it's a good one, but I'm testing it out. If you're trying to improve your timing with your mile, right? Like so you're trying to run a faster mile, you could totally weigh yourself and see how many pounds you're losing, because in the world of fitness or like health, people are always celebrating the amount, the number of pounds that they're losing. But is that an accurate telling of you trying to run a faster mile, right? There's other metrics that you can look at, even though it's like, of course, everyone's going to have the before and after. It's hard to do before and after of you running a faster mile. Of course, you can, show the watch, but like physically, right? Like you're not going to necessarily take those pictures.
Right.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just it's a different way to approach what you like doing, or
Yeah.
or what you are passionate about.
Right.
You know,
Right.
but
Right.
that's it. That's interesting. Like the mission driven.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we want to make a new word, but that um, mission driven something or other.
Because
And
it's
yeah,
like I like mission because it's not just you. Like a mission
yeah.
kind of makes it seem like other people are involved, and you don't necessarily have to be the expert at it, But if you
Yeah.
want to come along on the journey,
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah.
why I'm
Yeah.
liking this word.
Yeah. And you like recruit people too.
Yeah, exactly. Right. 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 Okay. I'm gonna jump in the comments because I know we're at the top of the hour here, and I can talk with Mike all night. But let's be conscious of the time. Michael Calhoun, what's missing in the passion economy? What do you think is missing in the passion economy? I think
Oh,
just people doing it. You know, like
yeah.
for academics, I think that the world would be a better place if more people in academia had YouTube channels.
Yes.
Like, I don't think that we should be getting a lot of our pop culture analysis from TikTokers, you know?
I absolutely agree because there are people that are on it and it's like right wing people kind of got it together. They have all their radio shows, they have all their podcasts, they have all their things going. And I don't, and where are the, academics? Like,
Because, yeah,
we can
you
step
guys
up. We
take,
can step up
right,
too.
right, right, right. What distinction do you see between teaching content and YouTube content? Oh, that's a good question. What's your answer to that, Mike?
Wow. Teaching
Teaching
content
content
and
and YouTube content.
um wow, that's a very, very, very deep question.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want
Is
to
there a
like
difference?
I don't want to wimp out and say like everything,
Right, I was
but
gonna say
like
that.
every the approach is like completely different. It's like you you act a certain way when you're like at your dinner table. You act a certain way when you're teaching a class or in front of a class. You act a very different way on video when you can edit things out and like
Mm-hmm.
deliver a perfect uh lecture, so to speak. So I don't know, maybe if I did think that there was a difference, I think that you can curate the delivery much better or to a higher level than doing it in person in real time, because I can write my script 4, 5 times, 6 times, which I do script everything 100% scripted. That'll go through like 5 or 6 or 7 drafts. I don't think I would do that for a live lecture. It'll be like a couple drafts were good, cool. In the YouTube video, um, I draft my content knowing like, ooh, I'm gonna fly in some graphics or some sound effects or pictures of whatever, and I can think ahead and be like, oh, I'm gonna integrate all of these other levels, not just my voice, not just teaching in front of a class, like all these other different kinds of media, and I can do that instantly. Um, Even though I know, like, okay, it takes like 6 hours, 8 hours
Yeah.
to edit a single video. People don't know that. That's fine. Whatever. Uh, but yeah, I think just the level of like, I don't want to say perfection, but how well you can deliver your content, which if you can deliver it better, then that means you can teach it better. That means you can get even deeper with the content than you would live.
I love that answer. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, Jazz K. Oh shoot! Hold up, I totally pushed the wrong button and it went away. Here we go. Where did you go? Oh, I lost it. Oh, here. I am too scared to start because I'm a bit nervous that people won't be interested in what I have to say, so I kind of hide away and procrastinate. And I think that Mike is the perfect person to address this because you talk about racism, which is like that's the topic that everyone avoids. So that's actually a question that I really wanted. I was hoping that we can touch on. So I'm gonna kind of fold this into my question. What is your, I don't want to say advice, but you talk about something that like everyone avoids like the plague. But I think especially for those who are taking a passion economy business model approach, I think that this lends itself to more uncomfortable conversations because it's more human, right? It's less mainstream, it's less mass appeal. So just by default, I think that the conversations are going to be more complex.
Oh
If
yeah.
someone's afraid of like how do I even, just how do I even, how did you even, like, how did you do this?
Oh,
How do you
yeah.
talk about racism?
It is it's unpleasant sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I have been like pretty publicly attacked in public forums. In So I'm a linguistic anthropologist. I've been attacked in anthropology forums saying stuff like I'm anti or what I'm reverse racist or I'm anti-European heritage or all of these things because the topic is so charged that the mere mention of it
Mm-hmm.
is almost enough of a reason to just walk away from the conversation. So I kind of had to know that going in, like, oh, I'm either going to meet, it's a very real possibility that either nobody's going to want to watch this or people are going to get really hateful about it, which I imagine both happen to a certain degree. Um, so, I mean, in terms of procrastinating, there are a lot of good reasons for me to procrastinate releasing another video. Like I'm doing my next video is on policing and racism and policing. I know there are going to be bad comments coming with this video. There's just it's going to be unavoidable. I know it, but I think a lot of times I can take these as signals that I'm doing something right. If
Yeah.
it really bothers somebody, maybe I'm doing something right. And you won't get that feeling of doing something right if you're putting it off and procrastinating over and over and over again. And but that feeling is worth it too. It's just like, oh, I did something right. But if you don't get there, that procrastination is probably going to go a little bit longer than what you thought it might go because you're not getting that inspiration. You're not getting the feedback from your
Right.
audience. Even if it's people you don't necessarily want as your audience, it still lets you know or it affirms that you're doing something for somebody else. And that helps with the procrastination for me. Like, I know that people are paying into my Patreon account. So that kind of holds me accountable. So
Accountable.
maybe
Mm-hmm.
if you can find some way to hold yourself accountable. I mean,
Yeah.
at the beginning, you're not going to have a Patreon account, but
Yeah.
you have to find something at a personal level to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I made a video that kind of touched on racism a little bit when I talked about Rachel Hollis, which was like, that was
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I was so scared to make that video.
Mm-hmm.
And 100%, if you scroll through the comments, there's straight up essays, right? Like not just from me, but from people who were commenting. And it definitely was bringing in people who were just, you could tell they went to the YouTube search bars, typed in Rachel Hollis, and were just looking for validation for hating on her. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
kind of tell that you could tell the intention, I guess, behind someone's
Oh, yeah.
YouTube comment. But I will say, overall, I thought it was actually really productive. I was scared to make that video. I have thought so many times about taking it down. But
Yeah.
my
That's an
approach was,
edgy video. That's an edgy
yeah,
video.
yeah, it was, yeah, definitely. It's not my, that wasn't what I was going for, but I did feel like it was a conversation worth having. Um, and I tried to make it very clear that like, I am coming from a place of wanting to understand. This is how I'm interpreting it. I'm not saying I'm right, but like, that's why I'm making the video, right? And I think
Mhm.
people got a sense of that, which is why I was like, I want to keep this up because you can see the evolution of like the back and forth. My point is, it's possible. It's possible to
Yeah.
have these uncomfortable conversations. I think that I think we've been scarred as a society of like talking about controversial topics online, but I think in certain
Mhm.
places, and if especially if you're the leader of your community, you can make it so the culture is open to that, and which is what you've done on your channel. Like you've
Yeah.
said, I mean, that's why you've got the mission statement right there, because it's like, okay, you're gonna almost label yourself as the rando who just came in, out of nowhere just to hate on somebody just by looking at your comment, because it's like, okay, clearly you've never seen another Mike video, clearly you're not a subscriber, like clearly you're just
Yeah.
you're coming in hot and you're charged about whatever reason.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Here's another question from somebody. I want to make videos that encourage people to outside the construct, but being intentional about creating their own constructs. How do I start creating a content plan? Mike's seems seamless. That's from TBD.
Oh boy. So I get a lot of inspiration for making a content plan. For one thing, since my stuff is so specialized, I
Yeah.
usually don't start a topic fresh from like if I have no prior knowledge, I just
Yeah.
won't do something like that. But in my case, being in academia, let's say I'm doing race and language videos, that's like the theme of my channel, I can look at other people's syllabi. Like if I gather a whole bunch of syllabi from a whole bunch of different professors and I see these same things coming up over and over and over across all these syllabi, I can make a plan for myself like, okay, eventually I need to get to this particular chapter or reading or text or whatever, and then this one, and then this one, because they all link together. They're all the same type of topic. Like right now, I'm doing colorblind ideology, colorblind racism. Um, and there's a few semi in a row. It's because I, I, I have to think at least 2 or 3 videos ahead of myself. That's generally how I work. Um, I might not get to it exactly in a row, but I'm thinking 2, 3 videos at a time. And
I love that. Yeah.
it's yeah,
Well,
yeah,
so
it's hard. It's hard to do. The creating your
yeah.
own content plan. And you have to
Yeah.
figure out how much you're willing to dedicate in terms of time.
Mhm.
Also, like my content overlaps with my life, with my career. You know, that's what I
Right.
do. That's what I study. That's what I research. So it's not like
Right.
I'm just like all of a sudden like I'm gonna go over here and figure out
Right.
how the theory of cooking food
Right.
or
Yeah.
something. You know,
It's not
yeah,
like
it
a
overlaps with
side
me.
thing. Yeah, but you know what I really like about your approach is that you do kind of think 2, 3 videos ahead, which is great if you're trying to because I think that the goal when people discover a new YouTube channel, they'll come in through one video, but I think the goal is to get them to watch another one, right? Like you
Right.
want them to kind of spend more time with you and explore a topic more in depth. And if you are just building it in that hey, there's going to be a part 2, part 3, or this video is related to this video, I think that really helps with that. So that's just like YouTube nuts and bolts tactics kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's part of the branding too. The actual like so we can think of graphics and color schemes and all of that stuff, but the content of itself is so integral to the branding itself. So even though you don't see it, if you're making this link of certain topics too, that's
Hmm.
really also really important. Or if you're making a joke that's a running joke across a few
Yeah,
videos and
that's
people
always
start
fun.
picking up on that stuff, that just it makes them feel like an insider too to your
Yeah.
channel. It's like, oh, I know why he did that because he did that like 2 videos ago, you know.
Yeah, I think it was Jake, someone mentioned air fryer emporium. That was from a couple episodes with Tom. So I can keep you on forever, Mike, but I want to be, I thank you for being a guest on this podcast, for sharing your story, your experience, your tips, um, and thank you for what you do on your channel. I know it's not easy, but like
Nope.
props to you.
It's fun. It's fun though.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and totally. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for inviting me on because it's not an avenue a lot of academics take. So if even like a couple people get to see this or hear it on a podcast later, I will feel like I did something, So
Aw, that's awesome. Yeah.
that
Mike, where can people find you? I know I have the
uh
YouTube channel in the description, but
yeah, yeah. So the YouTube is the social life of language, but also you can just search my name, Mike Mena. It's like my publishing author name, so that's like the main way to like look me up, Mike Mena. You can also follow me on Twitter, Mike Mena NYC, New York City. Um, and then I do photography on Instagram. If for some reason you want to go over there and look at my photography stuff, since I got all these camera toys to play with because of my YouTube channel, you can go look at my photography stuff. But yeah, it was great being here. It was nice to see some of you guys in the comments.
It's fun.
it's unreal. Yeah, it's unreal being here and sitting here on your channel and doing stuff with you. So it's awesome. I believe in what you're doing too. So it's fun to like be able to contribute. You know.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, appreciate you, Mike. Thanks again. And everyone, thanks for tuning in. You can also catch the audio version. So if you want to share it with someone who would find this helpful, you can check it out on iTunes and Spotify. And we will catch you guys next Tuesday. Thanks, everybody. Bye.